I talk to a spirit. She comes in my dreams.
What is the path to awakening supposed to look like? To feel like? How do you know if you are on it? We ask these very sacred and sometimes vulnerable questions to many different women from all walks of life. A conversation that needs to be shared and heard. I'm Jo Hendy.
I'm Amanda Parker.
And welcome to the Girl Awakening podcast. Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning.
Are we really here?
We are. We pinched. I'm going to pinch myself right now. Yep, I'm here.
Wow. I don't even know where to start. Look, I don't want to sound woo-woo. Well, we are woo-woo.
Yeah, we've kind of owned that one, and it's.
I feel like we're owning it even more now with our guests and stuff, and we're talking into areas that, are sometimes taboo.
Yeah.
And
unashamedly or unrestrictedly.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that's just super exciting is how some of the things we're talking around, people all around the planet are talking around at exactly the same time and in some very amazing spaces. And the web that is connecting us all together in the ethers is just so bloody
that's so
beautiful.
I could not have said it better myself. So beautifully said.
Thank you.
Yes, that reverberated.
Yes. Feel your solar plexus.
Yes.
Like that.
Yes. Yeah, because I freaking love talking about, my truth, not necessarily your truth or our beautiful guest's truth, but it's nice to be able to bounce around and not take it personally, have a conversation and open the fucking whatever it is up.
We're all okay in our own truth. We're blissing out about sharing our truth.
Yeah.
And we're walking away thinking, I actually kind of liked a little bit about what that was.
Yeah.
Different
viewpoints.
Yeah, and reweaving and things like that. And
expanding.
Yeah.
So our guest today, we've had on before and we loved her. She talks into this area so beautifully. Big time. And it just expands the space. And that's what we're here to do.
Yeah.
And for our guests, we say, hold on to your hats because we're going to be stepping into some truths that you may not like today, but it's all okay. Just take it with a grain of salt. Is that what you say?
Well, take it with a grain of salt, but maybe put it in your water and sip on it because, we're stepping it. We're going because she is absolutely an incredible woman.
Yes.
And we're kind of firing already because we've had a little chat with this gorgeous soul. And we're going to introduce her right now because she's sitting here waiting.
And giggling. I'm loving what we're saying. Oh, you're waiting for me. Sorry.
I was thinking about it, but I thought that you share it.
Oh, thank you. We have Kate Jackson back in the hot seat today. We love having you on, honey. It's so beautiful. Just pull your mic right up because we don't want anyone to miss out on what you've got to say today. So welcome,
Thank
Kate.
you so much.
Yeah, this is obviously not about your awakening.
We've shared that already.
But it sort of is.
Yeah.
I think we're still always unfolding and bits of ourselves coming up to be, recognised, and that's a truth.
Yep.
So, and that's part of the awakening too.
Yeah.
So, I think we're always on the journey.
On the roller coaster.
Yeah.
So beautifully said. Yeah. Would you like to just maybe introduce yourself as Kate Jackson today? Because
we don't know who you're going to be tomorrow. It's a bit like that.
Sure. I guess I will look at that transition from me in June to me today. I think you probably touched on it a bit in the intro, is that, we're starting to realise that authenticity is the highest vibration we can be in on this planet. Oh my gosh, I just got shivers. It's so powerful. And I've done research with the consciousness scale and where you sit emotionally and at what sort of level joy and bliss and all those things. But lately I've been hearing that authenticity is the highest vibration you can be in, because it's not denying anything. It's like accepting everything in that moment. So I guess
when
that's...
you say that, you what you're talking about is you.
Yeah.
Authenticity in who you are.
Yeah.
And what your beliefs are. Yes.
Yeah.
It's not about the next person over there or comparing yourself. It's all about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where you're at in this moment. Yeah. So I think that's probably been the biggest learning along the journey. But I guess me today is understanding and having a lot more compassion for myself and others, because everyone is moving through different stuff at different times and they're trying to live as authentically as they can in that moment.
Yeah.
So it's that play and dance of, what you're seeing externally is a reflection internally. So it's just that constant, it's not about you.
Yeah.
So, it's been a lot more understanding and awareness about that within myself.
We talk about this in the way that whenever you're sitting with someone or being with someone, that person is the divine gift for you in any moment, wherever you are, whether you're in the supermarket, whether you're sitting here, whether you're wherever you are, whoever's right in front of you is divinely gifted to you in that moment. So whatever they're bringing to you is for you.
Yes.
Yeah, and vice versa.
And whether it's something that you're not ready to accept, it can really bring up a lot of things. And it can take people a while to understand that interaction, and also like connections over time, seeing how that dance plays out. Obviously we go back to our parents, like that's the original, longest standing probably relationship we have. And that's a constant dance. Yeah. So, that the parental figures and family really, like they're the longest standing relationships. So it's interesting watching that play out.
Yes.
It's true, isn't it? Like, when you look at some of the relationships we have in our life and how long those relationships have been ongoing for, whether that person is a constant in your life, like your parents, or somebody that you've known for, say, 25 years, but over that time you've had, say, 5 years of accumulated interaction. Yeah. It's still can be quite a significant relationship.
100%.
Yeah.
And they're like sometimes the biggest teachers are the ones that challenge us the most. Yeah. Big reflections of yourself, and and again, that's different parts of your truth arising that you need to sort of look at and accept. And okay, that's something that I didn't realize I was, and this is beautiful. I'm going to the shadow work side of things now, because I think that's been a big part of my last couple of years. Is, yes, we can stand in our light, but we also need to stand in our shadows and owning our shadows.
Which is really hard for some people. That's the most challenging part of all.
Yes.
Because we never want to look at those negative parts.
No. And just as bright as we can be just as dark.
Yeah.
And I've definitely experienced those dark moments of like, your extreme self-sabotage. Like that's a big one. And, things that you do, choices that you make that, potentially are harming you, but you don't understand it at the time because it's a pattern, or it's I'll just keep doing this because this is, bringing me money, but is it really good for me in the long term? Like, is my soul happy, or am I just like grinding through the... Yeah,
absolutely. This comes up a lot, and we've added the question into our questions, which is around deserving and worthiness, and the unworthiness, and the feeling of not deserving good things, and how hard that is to allow that in. And then I think if you're not allowing it, that's when that self-sabotage comes in, and that just becomes a continual pattern, because you don't feel like you deserve the good things that are happening for you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
We allow the negative or the contrast of the bad or the negative because it's easier to accept because we've played there for longer than what we have in the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a powerful truth, isn't it? And also the feeling of like, if I receive something, if I'm worthy of receiving something good in my life, what's the cost? What's the condition?
Yeah.
How am I going to pay this back?
There has to be some kind of
this.
Is there an agenda?
Yes.
I mean, I don't like to say that, but sometimes it comes with strings attached.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even just a programming that we carry.
Yes.
True.
So both of those scenarios can be part of that sabotage pathway, isn't it, of undoing the receiving of good or creating resistance because I don't want to have to pay it back.
It's so wild. I think
there's so many ways that we have to pay back.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. And I always I think one of my favorite sayings is what you own owns you.
Yeah.
Comes into everything, and probably because I'm a bit of an astrology nerd too. I've noticed that relationships have been a big highlight over the last 18 months because of the Aries and Libra North Node, South Node interactions.
Yes.
So whilst everyone's thinking, yes, Pluto and Capricorn's doing its thing, but there's also been a big highlight of, where you're codependent in relationships and where you're not standing up for yourself, you're not standing on your own 2 feet, where you're giving your power away, where you need to be more, equal balance, like in interactions. So for me, that's been a big thing for me this last 18 months, I think. And also,
are you in a relationship?
No.
Okay,
no. But being an Aries, I've had to. That's the lesson.
Intensely.
I am. It's the I am.
Yes.
Yeah. As much as you want to, and I've fallen into relationships and been very giving, but it's actually learning about yourself for most of your life.
I have an Aries lady friend.
Yes.
That sounded wrong. That sounded so wrong. I have a friend that's an Aries.
Yes. Yeah.
And this conversation came up yesterday.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
About feeling like she's always been giving.
Yes.
And has never allowed herself to fully receive and be okay to say no more. I need to restore myself. I need to start looking after myself and being really okay with that, even when it's really close people to you.
Yes.
Where there's a label of you should be looking after. It's like,
And I have to admit, there's been some entitlement in that.
Yes.
So when you've built up those relationships over time and there is that dynamic, when you do start to pull back and you need to look after yourself because you're burnt out, for example.
Yes.
And people don't understand that.
Yes.
And you're saying, I need some, time out. There's that, unhappy dynamic that's,
Why? But why can't you do this for me now?
But I'm tired. I'm burnt out.
Yeah.
You always do it for me. Why can't you do it now?
Yes.
It's like changing the tide, isn't it? Like, it's like, no.
But we've all got Aries in our chart, right?
Yes.
So I think wherever it sits, it's like that's where the dynamic's playing out as well.
Yeah.
So it moves back out in March next year, and then it's going into a Virgo Pisces, which is then changes that whole dynamic about actually being of service. And, Virgo is, very self-giving. It rules like hospitals and caregivers and things like that.
Beautiful.
So it's going to be a different dynamic again. But that's just been my perspective over the last sort of 18 months for me. Yeah.
And because from my understanding with the North Node and the South Node is like there's different levels of it, but one of the, I guess, baseline things that I see when I look at it is the South Node is around past mastery, past life experiences and skills, but also those patterns that we bring through from past lives as well, and that we're here to reinterpret, learn from, grow from in this present life. And then the North Node is all about those new experiences that are bringing us the opportunities to do that.
Yeah. And I've also learnt that the North Node side of things, particularly where it sits in your chart, that's where the universe will support you more and give you more resources. So that's always a learning that I've had over time, is like, focus on your North Node. Get rid of the South Node stuff that's in your chart, because that's where you need to be directing yourself. That's probably why it's on my IG account, IG handle. It says follow your north. So that's been a little bit of my
I didn't know what that was.
follow your
I
north
thought that was your North Star
as well. Yeah.
as in like true north.
Very
but
cool.
North Node, that's cool.
Yeah, because I
a little
think
reminder.
it's like where I guess you'll get support. Yeah.
And also I guess too, it's that thing that as we're moving out of the age of Pisces well and truly into the age of Aquarius, it's about giving up the victimhood and the suffering and the martyrdom. And when you say around, saying, no, I can't give at the moment, I need to fill my cup, or actually some healthy boundaries or those sort of things, doing it in a way that is not around being a martyr or a victim, but actually owning your worth and personal needs and which is something for all of us. Definitely,
definitely.
And then if we're going into the Pisces and Virgo, because Pisces sometimes can be the ultimate martyr, can't it? So it's like this is the opportunity now to go into that higher service aspect of that relationship with where the North and South Node are going.
For sure.
That's exciting.
It is.
I just want to talk on that whole victim
suffering, martyrdom.
Yes, because this is really interesting. I don't know why she popped into my mind, but Candace Owens, I don't know whether you guys know Candace Owens. So she was coming out to Australia, and Australia have denied her coming out here.
That's right.
She had sold out shows everywhere. So she's this beautiful black American girl, woman, who speaks her truth and is all about releasing the suffering of black slavery and all of that stuff, and creating a new paradigm or a new narrative around just being a woman and for everybody, black, white, all cultures.
So is the misogyny racist part of Australia having a say?
Absolutely. Well, there's something around. The reason being was that she was too outspoken. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting, because she's literally just speaking her truth around not playing the role anymore of being under anyone
and oppressed.
Oppressed and all of that. And she's amazing. And when I saw that, I found that very interesting. So is that something that's playing out, do you guys think, across the planet at the moment? Like, there's a lot of shifts happening.
I do.
Do you want to talk into what your truth is around all of that?
I guess probably drop a little bit into like that. I guess we talked about before we started recording was the election side of things. So again, I think there's going to be a big narrative shift there in America, and particularly Trump's phrase was making America great again. So what wasn't great about it before? So it's interesting, like, whether that will play out with some victim type mentality.
Absolutely.
That he probably has gotten to where he is because he's probably pressed that within the society. He knows the pressure points. And so I wonder, because he's such a strong character, and this is, I think America's got a massive growth journey, is that I believe he'll start having communities popping off because of how he communicates and what he says. And it will be certain truths.
Can I just ask quickly? When you say popping off, do you mean waking up, or do you mean like triggering?
Triggering.
Okay,
but that's part of the awakening. So
Yeah.
It'll be that journey where people have had opportunities to do it the gentler way. But now we're at there's so much mass light has come in, and hence the cloud seeding stuff that's gone on to try and prevent that. But there's been so much light coming to this planet now that it's just unstoppable. So
it's happening. It's like a wave. It's happening.
On that point, just to clarify what you're talking there is, because this is the solar flares, the cosmic activations, the galactic center. This is a greater than our little planet energy.
Greater than the me that's in this little body. This little me.
But in saying that, we play a big part. The collective consciousness that's waking up. We play a big role in this too. But please keep going.
Well, and whether you believe in, because a lot of people get hot about the climate change conversation, and there's no doubt that we're having changes in the planet in so many ways. And if you talk with any scientist around changes with, coral beds, ocean warming, species, all the things, there's so much happening that is a part of humanity's footprint on the planet. But what you just said around the cloud seeding is also having a very hectic and very apparent role in all of that as well, isn't it? Is there anything that you would just want to share around that? Because what you just basically they're using it as a shield, aren't they?
It's such a deep well, isn't it?
That's why we love Kate.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think I guess one way of looking at it is they've had the tools and the knowledge for a really long time, and they've known when this was all going to happen. So they've timed their methods to very precise astrological movements because they knew humanity was going to be poised to awaken and, you know, have these beautiful experiences, which we all are. It's just they're trying to slow it down.
Yeah.
That, you know, hence the cloud seeding is to prevent more of that solar activity and light coming down and infusing ourselves because at a cellular level that's what actually activates. And
because we are light beings.
Exactly.
We are activated by light just as plants are.
Exactly. Yeah.
I want to add to that too.
Freaking
Just
awesome.
Yeah, it is. And light is like, it just does amazing things for you. Yeah. Yep.
I don't want to add to that too, that the whole cloud seeding thing, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
Not blah, 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 but, you know.
Meaning that it's a big topic. We're just going to keep in this space because there's so many, we could spend hours here.
Exactly. And we are going to, we want to move through lots of different things. But another viewpoint that I heard was around, you know, I don't know how it works. So please, anyone listening that's right into this, I'm only giving you a very brief, my view and my understanding of it. That apparently they're also putting stuff in the rain or something, and it's going into the ground, which is having an effect on our soil.
Yes.
So we are not, when we eat what we think is healthy, carrots, potato, whatever, corn, all of those things, we're not actually getting the full benefits of what's available to us.
That's correct.
Yeah, wise. If we were, then our cells and our what's happening with our bodies through like cancer and a whole lot of other different things wouldn't possibly exist.
Yep.
You know, and that's a big viewpoint, but it's like I've been listening and, you know, just hearing different conversations and
see the lines.
It kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And this is where I think, you know, RFK is very familiar in, and this is where he wants to come in and he wants to like
blow the lid off.
That's a massive
make America healthy again.
Yes.
Which will change a lot around the way
it'll change the planet.
Yeah.
We will get the side effects of that as well, you know, because America, you know, not that I want to say I hate to say it, but they lead the way in so many things.
Yeah, they do.
It's just so interesting what's available to us health-wise when he gets in there and he's going to do whatever he's going to do.
Take fluoride out of the water.
That's the first thing.
Yeah,
like,
that's massive.
Amazing in itself.
Yeah. The spraying thing, I believe, is barium and aluminium, and then there's other heavy metals.
Yes.
So that's to, oh gosh, I just got a massive earring in my left ear then, so that's confirmation. And so heavy metals electromagnetically in your body will slow down your awakening and your processing abilities. So the more you can detox, the more you can draw out the heavy metals and the nano. So the nano is coming out too. So the nano, and so graphene, that's in the injectables. All of that interacts with the frequency. So when they put out frequency, they want to be able to control. And I've actually just seen recently a video of this is in America, a guy with a magnetic plate just touching parts of this guy's head, and it's just like his thumb's moving, and then he touched this part. Something else is moving in his body. So it just depends on which part of the head. So they're going, that's where they want to go to control. And so I think, this path of opening up with the health and, minimising these, toxic injectables and things like that, that's really positive, really, really positive.
And that's where we go into then big pharma, where medications, pharmaceutical companies are making big money on keeping people dense.
Yeah.
Keeping people in a state of sickness.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's so huge. I mean, there's so much we can talk about. We're only really floating across the surface here. And just adding what we feel is happening.
Yeah. But it's also adding to kind of what Kate is sharing today, because when you came in for your original podcast, you touched on some, quite big topics.
aliens.
Yeah, which I can go into another
Yeah.
series of
Yeah.
interactions in the last 6 months.
So which
Yeah.
is absolutely
Yeah.
So
Well, that's the other side of it, isn't it?
kind of what
Yeah.
where we're sharing around is like when you're listening to what we're talking already with the health, you know, the astrology, the cosmic consciousness. Kate is, and when we asked Kate, who is she today? Because you are an intuitive.
Healer.
Ever evolving.
Oh gosh, I'm speaker now.
Yeah.
Teacher. Like I'm going to be going into a lot more teaching.
Yeah. A
And
conduit.
Yeah,
That's the word I was waiting for her to come out and say, because
there you
that's
go.
it.
this is like
Conduit.
Yeah.
you're speaking, you know, as a conduit
Yeah.
for
True.
Yeah.
your knowledge that
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
researched and you've been learning through your lifetime of awakening,
Lifetimes.
and evolving and growing. But you
Yeah.
are also, you know, bringing in more
Yeah.
than
True.
yourself as well. And I
True.
think the more you speak,
Yeah.
the more that is going to happen.
Open up. Yeah.
So
Which is very
true.
exciting because you already have so much knowledge in yourself, but also of
Thank you.
yourself. So
Yeah. Yeah.
this
It's
is-
exciting.
So
Yeah.
that's why we're jumping around a
Yeah.
lot, people.
Yeah. Ask this.
Yeah, it's true actually, because I've probably have to admit, you've probably heard the Akashic Records
Yes.
side of things. I think as you go through your awakening, you also unlock parts of yourself that you haven't been able to access due to certain, you know, genetic,
Yes.
etc. Things you've been born into. But then once you start doing that, it does unlock certain knowledge and awareness and tools,
Yeah.
even tools that you've used in the past lifetimes, etc., that you can use now, which is like, I think, where we're going.
Yeah.
I think I was
Yes.
saying just before we started recording, I believe, so I was having a chat with Amanda about bushflower essences. So I know, you know, externally we can, you know, take this, it's going to fix X, and then we
Yes.
take this and it's going to fix this. So eventually I think we'll get to this point, we'll be so familiar with the frequency of what we need that we'll be able to produce it internally to heal ourselves.
Oh, wow.
So it's just a matter of like matching our frequency
Yes.
and what's lacking,
Yes.
and being able to essentially draw it in from the light fields around us,
Yes.
plasma fields, and then be able to heal ourselves.
Yeah.
That's where I think things are
That's
going.
beautiful.
Beautiful.
so
Yeah,
much.
that's exciting. Yeah, absolutely.
Which adds to the importance of, just how important it is to be aware of your environment, your intentions,
Massively.
what you're putting out there, what you're receiving,
So true.
and why these skills that we're working, these spaces that we're working in at the moment are, might seem woo-woo or small or any of those things, but they are all the stepping stones that are taken into exactly what you just shared around working with our frequency consciously,
Yes.
willingly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And expanding and more expansion around that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually because I'd listen to a few people on YouTube, like just, to tune into
Yeah.
certain dynamics that collectively we're going through. And she was saying, interestingly, we're all a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
So not every one person's going to have
Yeah.
that. I might say, oh, I got these visions about, a yellow flower and a white car and,
Yes.
X. And then the next person will go, oh, well, I noticed this and this was connected. So that's
They're all-
the thing,
yes.
is that we're all intricate.
The quantum.
Yes,
Yes.
we're all piecing it together and going through this wave of awakening
Yeah.
and more awareness. So
This is simple, but for our listeners, I know that they will understand this too, because it's the way I understand things. Keep it simple. This morning, I was just mentioning to you earlier when I
Yep.
left my house and I was thanking my car.
yes,
Maz.
oh
Thank
gosh,
you,
yes,
darling. Love you. You've been amazing. And then I pull out onto my driveway, and in the car in front of me, the number plate's Maz.
Oh, epic.
And then I drive to Burleigh and I park, and my girlfriend who I'm meeting, her number plate's Maz. And I'm like,
Wow,
this is what you're talking about. It's
Yeah.
like where there's little signs
Yeah.
everywhere that are telling you you're on
Yeah.
track, you're on track.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. It's perfect.
even this morning.
Yep.
I'd actually sat in my car for like 10 minutes and I was
Yep.
mucking
Oh,
around.
yes.
And then I got out of my car and literally Joe was walking across the road
Yes.
at the exact same time. So
Yes.
that's the thing. Like we're starting to pick up
everything.
and like timing is
Yeah.
becoming a lot more
And
nuanced.
Even
Yeah.
those little things are so fulfilling, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
I instantly feel filled up
Yeah.
or expanded.
I'm in flow.
more.
I'm in the
Yes.
flow.
flow.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's really acknowledging, even though
Yeah.
they're small moments, they're not small moments. They're massive.
Massive.
And they're all connected.
Yeah.
And that's what I think you're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the frequency
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you were just talking before, for me, it was that thing we have mentioned recently around like when 5 people witness the same incident, but they all have
yes,
a
different
separate
views, yeah.
viewing of
Yes.
that. What you were just sharing, I just went, but if you click it round into that, what they're viewing and might be different, but then when they share that,
Yeah.
it becomes the whole.
Yes.
And I just like, we've been separated in our viewings. If we connect and
Yes.
Yes.
communicate,
Yes.
It
with
opens up more.
and it
Yeah.
creates the whole picture
Yes.
and more.
Yes.
Which is
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's exciting. It's
So exciting.
It is, and I think that might be the play that we move away from, that, you know, the Pluto and Capricorn time era, which was all about, you know,
Control.
business institutions, controlling institutions, hierarchy,
Yeah.
patriarchy,
Yeah.
and as we move into Aquarius, which is, you know, a lot more like nature based but also technology based.
Yep.
There'll be a lot of expansion in different technologies,
Yeah.
which I think we'll see. So in both the dualities.
Yes.
So we'll see some not so good things and then
Yes.
some really good things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The flow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
I might even segue into something because
Yeah,
I
no,
did.
go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
It's so special.
Because one of the things I did in the last 6 months, went to Living Free Festival, which was, I think, last time I was here, I was talking about natural law and
Yes.
all of that
Yes.
side of things
Yes.
that, you know, we need to be conscious of
Yes.
when we go into contracts with people.
Yes.
And, you know, what dynamic are we agreeing to.
Mm-hmm.
And so at this festival, it was really well put on. It's their first one ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a group of guys, you know, they teach the legal side of things to help with contracts. And
I've got many friends actually that are right out of the system now.
yeah,
Yes.
so that's what they're teaching with their platform.
Yeah.
So they had people speaking at the 3-day festival.
Yeah.
And so we camped out there, met some beautiful
I
people, like sitting around a campfire, just like, oh, hey, how you going? And you're just like,
Yeah.
bro. And then
Oh.
it was just the most healing experience
Yeah.
because we're all like, this is probably the first time a whole bunch of us, like-minded,
Yeah.
could actually get together
Free.
and speak freely,
Yeah.
like about our experiences in the last 4 years
Yeah.
and what's happened for you, and that was terrible, and
Yeah.
gosh, that must have been hard, like, because there's a lot of Southerners there too.
Yeah.
So it was beautiful experience.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of presenters like talking about new healing
Yep.
technologies and
Yeah.
new healing work that they're doing. And they actually had a couple of stalls, and one of the ones that I came across, which, I mean, people have probably seen these before, but it's the first time I'd been exposed
Yeah.
to them, is a guy called Slim Sperling.
Okay.
And he
what a
makes,
gorgeous name.
yeah, Slim Sperling. He's
Yeah,
an
that's-
American guy,
Oh,
but
that's
he's
his real name.
that's his real name. And I
really
think
cool.
he's like he's passed away now, but he was like an old metalsmith or an old worker with metals.
Yes.
Like what do they call them? Blacksmiths?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like those old trades.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he, over the years and over his
They're
career.
alchemists.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alchemist. That's the
Oh,
word.
that's
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so he came across some guys doing quantum physics stuff, and there's just, and this is the thing at the moment, like in the last 10, 20 years, I guess, all this old knowledge and ancient knowledge is coming back out again. So hence these beautiful tech, healing tech, and it's copper. And basically they are formed around old ancient measurements linked to light.
Wow.
So light frequency, the
Yes.
speed of light.
Yes.
So it's the old measurements are called qubits.
Yeah.
Originated back Egyptian days, but they, with the technology, basically it acts like a portal, and it acts like a healing tech that brings in light into parts of your body. If you put it on your car, your fuel usage improves. Electrical use decreases if you put it around your electrical box. All this sort of cool stuff.
Be careful, Kate.
But this is the tech that's
You don't
coming
need about
out.
the technology
No.
now. People are
Yeah.
this episode is going to get out any way we can.
Well, I knew we'd go like into
Kate
some
is
different.
not suicidal.
No. No. But I tell you, this has been a game changer for me because I have been exposed to quite a lot of psychic attacks over my life.
Yes.
And so this helps to prevent the frequency waves that they put out, the military put out at night to prevent you from accessing certain things that
higher
you need.
realms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I put this under my pillow at night,
Can I
and
buy one off you?
I'll give you the details. That's why I brought them on, because
well,
they are so critical right now.
Yes.
Because this is what I'm saying with frequency, we need to all be like combating what is coming
Like one
as
voice,
well.
one being proactive in our actions around utilising these ancient technologies
Yes.
that are not, they're not restricted by being hugely expensive or technically challenging or anything like that.
No.
Yeah.
Just for example, put that on your head for a second.
I was wanting to do that so bad.
Oh, it looks beautiful. On
And
you.
so I do a chakra cleanse with that, and this one is a mega, it's a mega charger one. So basically,
that looks like it could
I
do
want one for my
damage.
neck.
yeah,
Okay, so-
yeah. They actually say apparently in the old days, like the Greeks and those guys, they had
They
these.
all had them. Like
they had
I'm
them
thinking
on
even
them.
Cleopatra used to, and all those Egyptians used to wear
Yes.
this. Yeah.
Yes, so this is like old tech. It's
Yeah.
coming back to help us now
Yeah.
with what they're trying to put in
Yep.
and into more Elon and his Starlink, all
Yep.
of those sort of things.
Yes.
They're going to be pumping up the EMFs like crazy. So this is a really good, these
Yeah.
are really good tools
Yeah.
to help with
To help
EMF.
with that, yeah.
And also taking out distortions in your field. So like your emotional body, mental body, like this one's a really powerful one.
What does that one do? Like, as in, where do you put that?
So it basically works.
Solar plexus.
Yeah, so you can drag it out from anywhere.
Yep.
And so what you can do is sit it on a piece of furniture and then slowly walk away, and it builds intensity, and it's like
wow.
dragging stuff out of you
Oh, wow.
as you're moving back, and then it gets to a point of maximum.
Yep.
And then as you step back, it drops off. You go back to the point of maximum, let it drag everything out, and then all of a sudden you're like,
Yeah.
it's just cleared stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really powerful tool. This one basically takes in the heavier stuff,
Yep.
denser stuff, and spits it back into your field.
Yep.
Because you've connected it like this, because it's a metal.
Yeah.
It'll go back with the light. So they're all with designed to these speed of light things. Wow. So I'm really not doing it justice, because I've literally.
We will put the info on the bottom of the podcast, so anybody that wants to know more can actually jump on and.
Yeah.
But I'm just on that whole thing. I remember speaking to a good friend of ours that works in this like metaphysical quantum world.
Yep.
And he was saying, this was a few years back, that he was talking about the new earth and all that way back years ago. And he was saying there was what he was feeling, getting told, is there was going to be a whole lot of new like metals or new crystals or new I can't remember the exact word, but all around the heavy metals in the positive that were going to come forth to support us moving into the new earth.
Yes,
so
I just
you
got
saying
tingles.
this is like, okay.
Yep.
There's more things that are coming out. And they'll be finding new stones and new crystals and new rocks that were going to be so beneficial for the human body to evolve quicker.
Yep. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
Yep. So all of that, last 15, 20 years, like, was perfect for then, like the healing tools that we had then.
Yeah.
It's now like ramping up to a point where there'll be all these new things that have come out that will help us access even more.
Yeah.
That's there available, so that we can heal and evolve.
Yeah, copper seems to be a very powerful one, though. I know Treb's had like crystals, like pyramid crystals that have had copper inserts in them that have spirals in them, and different things that are like a conduit too. That he has all around the house.
Yep.
And I've always got them all out in the full moon. And but he's had them for years, and I'm always interested. Like, there's always copper.
Yes.
In these things.
Yes. Yeah, it's a really healing metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also good for EMF.
Yeah.
Yeah. so preventing EMF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for our listeners too, do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because that seems to be a big one. I'm seeing a lot around mobile phones, and you know, I actually watched something on Instagram the other day, which was a lady that said, "Have you ever read the where you're supposed to have the phone, basically?" And in your phone, there's actually under this
settings
part, there is where you are not to have your phone up to your ear. That says you have to have it like
what they're
5 mils. Legally requirement is 5 centimeters or something.
That's why I do speakerphone.
You should never have it up to your ear, and
never.
it's like, you know, we do hear that, but how often do we forget that, you know? And are we really actually taking note of these things, because they are important? You know, these things aren't just being said just for the sake of it.
There's actually a lot of danger. And also the wireless earpods people use, straight away I was like, what are you frying? Like, what are you putting through your brain?
I used mine. I stopped using them about 6 months ago because I saw that, and I was like, oh, and then I just was like to my kids, nope, we're getting the plug-in ones again.
That's because it is going through your brain. And also people have started to report little growth tumours behind their ears and things.
Well, it's also right next to your glands, and which is the
endocrine system, disruption. So we've already got enough going on with plastics and the nanos and everything disrupting our endocrine and circadian rhythms and all of that. To add to that, the EMF side of things. But I think moving forward, you know, we're talking about the beauty of trees and being around, like, you know, that nature energy. We're going to need that more and more. And so, like, trees are very protective and also help mitigate EMF. So it's going to be pretty important. But hence why you see so many developments now don't have bits of nature in there, because, you know, it makes you sicker, right? Sitting in your home and, like, you're just basically getting fried. With, you know, over in America they've got those meter box things, so you're basically sitting in a can, a cement can, like, just getting fried all day, especially like Wi-Fi through the house, all of that. So it's going to be more and more critical.
So that's the downside of technology when we look at it like that, and it's hard to imagine, apart from turning it all off when you go to bed at night or whenever, to make it a little bit more beneficial. How is that going to look moving forward? You know, like, because we live on our phones. We do everything with our phones these days. And, you know, it's interesting. I live in the bush, and so I have Starlink. And Trev keeps saying we need to turn it off at night. And I'm like, well, what if the kids, because once we turn that off, that means we have no access to anything. You know, what if the kids need us? And it's like, well, then we have to tune in more, you know. All of those things are stopping us from our natural instincts and our intuitiveness and all of that. And I get nervous, and I'm all about all of this. But when it comes to your children, or, you know, you start to go, oh, shit. But, you know, what is the reality of that moving forward? Are they going to find new ways that we can connect without getting all of these EMFs? And
I guess probably I'd say the telepathic thing is probably going to be way more, like, become really important. And you're trusting intuition and sixth sense. Because
all of that I suppose that's its role, is to take us further away from waking up and you know, stop listening,
connecting. Hence why the last 6 months I have been doing a lot of nature hiking and things like that, just really connecting in with the land and nature, and it gives you so much information. Like, it's incredible. So I mean, I know we rely on this internet thing, but it's a control mechanism. So, you know, if I Google something, Google's going to tell me what the answer is. Is that the truth?
Google believes in.
So, and now we've got AI, which is again taking us down this whole other trajectory. That's not necessarily, I mean, yes, it's got its benefits, but it's also going to take us away from our own natural inclinations and understanding and intuition. So, because I'm probably more green and nature focused, that is where I see you get more benefits from. And over time, the knowledge comes to you because you can tap into it. So we can, you know, essentially the quantum is a computer. so we can tap into the quantum
Yes.
and get what we need,
Yes.
rather than relying on this created web space
Yes.
for information.
Yeah.
We can tap into the quantum
Yeah.
or go and talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because what I see happening, and I don't know if anyone else has been experimenting with, say, their phones when you're Googling for things or when you're on your socials and things like that, is, and we've talked around this probably for the whole time we've been doing Girl Awakening, is being conscious with how you use the technologies. And with your socials, don't just like everything or follow everything. Be very selective around what you do follow and what is coming in on your feed.
Yes.
And then it's very powerfully interesting what comes to you in that way, like how it's more supportive, how it's more positive, how it's more supporting your curiosity and learning.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of amazing information out there that people are sharing, but if it's not getting supported by people choosing to follow that, as opposed to, you know, this stuff over here which is feeding neuroses or anxiety or those sort of things, or it's drama. Like, do you really need the drama?
Yeah.
You know, these things. It's incredible then how you are creating an algorithm that is outside of the norm.
And
Yeah.
that's speeding up too, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah, last night I was on social media and on, not on my thread, but I went on to, where you can watch
Reels.
Reels.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah.
And I watched this one of a car accident of two young guys they're Australian, they're walkers around Australia, and they had a car accident. And I must have spent like maybe 30 seconds watching the video.
Yeah.
And then, you just flick up, and then the next one was another like not very nice thing happening to somebody. And I was like, and then I kept flicking, and then there was animals getting hurt, and I was like, oh my God, this, and I was trying to flick through, and I straight away got, you stayed longer than a certain period of time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Watching that, the algorithm picked it up that I like seeing things that are a
And
little bit.
it's highly sticky as well. What you touched on is highly sticky. It's a very
Dramatic, like keep me down in the dense,
it's
like
a sticky
yes.
algorithm that you stepped into.
So straight away I started seeing all really horrible things.
Yeah.
And I was just like, get me out of here. And then I just turned it off.
Yeah.
It's like, I couldn't believe how quickly it grabbed hold of that
Yep.
and took me down a path.
Wow.
And I was thinking, how bad is that for even young
people.
kids?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So be careful what you're
Consuming.
watching.
Yeah.
So what you're talking around is into the thing of, and what where we're going is that whole conscious directing of the AI energies in a way that they don't really want us to be. And when we're talking around it's just, there's we'll go into that next because you've got things to share, but we don't realize how powerful we are in this space of AI, and that it can actually be a tool in the process of getting to our own quantum computer skills. It doesn't have to be something that dominates us if we are staying clear around how we are working with those technologies. If we give our power away, as in any relationship in that situation, we get quickly, submerged in what I guess that sandbox can be about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, funnily enough, I saw it was just an ad on TV last night, and they were talking about using AI to quantify the loyalty tax that banks charge people on their mortgages. And I was like, that's amazing. AI is doing it like this, like producing that information.
Wow.
And then people can go back to the bank and say, hey, this AI tool has calculated that if I stay with you, you're giving me a rotten interest rate.
Wow.
And I want you to drop it.
Yeah.
And this is why, because I know you're charging me more
Yes.
because I'm an existing customer versus a new customer. So this sort of information, I think, wow, that's great.
Yes.
Something that's beyond the average person to calculate.
Yes, who's got the time to do that? But AI, there's these guys who've built this AI tool to do that, to help people. And I thought, see, that's a positive use of that tech, And there is that available. You're right. It's just being conscious about how you use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
the
agree.
negative that I heard recently was a young girl having a conversation with an avatar around, and I can't remember what the topic of the conversation was, but basically it was around, she was asking for the avatar questions around her looks and things like that. Yeah, it didn't go in a very good way and ended in a very sad, very tragic.
Wow.
And this is, a big space of awareness around how it can be very diabolically manipulative and destructive.
Yeah.
Because it's not in the hands of people who are able to really understand that it's not another living being.
It's not.
It's just working on logical steps of,
What's predictive human behaviour?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
it's been built off. So they've been monitoring us for ages, right, with the cameras, and now you go to the grocery store and there's a camera as you're scanning your thing, and I make sure I just go, I know you're watching me, and I just say that to the screen, and I'm like, to this eyeball thing, so they think
I see you too.
They think I'm crazy.
My son usually gives it the birdie.
Yeah, I've done that too because I just I know you're watching me, and
Step
so
to the side.
yeah,
it's part of.
So, and that's what they're building off our profiles.
Yeah,
That's the dangerous part, is they're trying to get us to a point where we are so predictable they can get us to do anything they want. So
it's so funny because I'm a little bit naive to those things. I'm like, oh, hello. Oh, there I am.
What's going with my hair today?
God, I look shocking.
I like this top.
Yeah, no, I don't. Isn't it funny? Because now you brought that to my attention. I'm like, oh wow, yes. But I'm like a little bit naive to that, which can be a good thing too, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not too concerned about it. I feel like I do good and I'm a good person. But I also understand the other side of that, where they are monitoring us, and if if I go from there and then I go to a petrol station and something happens to me, they can then go back and go, well, she was here, and then we need to,
that's the other
the good
side.
things,
Yes,
but also not.
Yeah.
I totally get it. Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's move on from that.
Yes.
What else did you want to share with us today?
I was thinking, because we were on the frequency train there for a bit, talking about and probably going from the global scale to the our scale. At the moment, and I've stumbled across an interesting video the other day, basically exposing a study that was done on psychic abilities. And it links back to genetics. Yeah. And so a group of people were studied over time that didn't have any psychic abilities, so they were like the control, and a group that had psychic abilities. And so they tracked their health, like all of this stuff, back to their bloodlines and DNA and things like that, just to try and see, identify, again, we're going to God particles sort of stuff, like why are these people intuitive and why they're not.
Yes.
And basically, they finally came up with the fact was that this control group, their lineage stemmed back to Roman days and the Spanish Inquisition. Oh. So their whole, from that point, that was where they wiped out a lot of intuitives and psychics because of the fear.
Was that the witches?
The witch hunts.
The witch hunts.
The witch hunts.
Yes.
So that control group all had that DNA linkage back to then.
Wow.
And that's what I believe is happening at the moment globally, is that it's a war on DNA and pure DNA and bloodlines. So the Palestine thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what I believe is going on there. So
wow.
And again, there's a lot of, 20, 30 years ago, Israel was suffering from Palestinian side of, they were going for the Israelis. So there's that balancing out anyway. But I think globally there is a lot of, the elites trying to control and manipulate
Yep.
genetics, which
Yep.
is again comes back to Atlantis times, which is what they
Yes.
did then.
Wow.
So I think that's still happening. Yeah.
That's so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's what comes back to, so frequency, working with frequency, unlocking parts of your DNA to unlock, you know, that lost knowledge or that ancient knowledge.
Yep.
So again, that's so critical to help like have these sort of devices and
more understanding. Yeah.
And actually the last 6 months I've been doing a lot of sound healing, going more into the sound side of things, which is like amazing stuff. So that's probably I'll be moving into that, moving a lot more into that next year with work, is, you know, hosting crystal bowl type events and recordings, because that is powerful. So powerful. And so it unlocks stuff, like you can sit there and be on a journey and it will unlock something in a cellular way or release something that you've been holding on to. So it's like that, really, because sound moves through everything, that it can unlock so much at a frequency level.
You can feel that, yeah.
And it helps really access more of yourself over time. So consistently working with it, it's just, and even health wise, like, so there's a frequency that's attuned to your liver, it's a frequency that's attuned to your eyes, like, so working with those frequencies, healing from that perspective is going to be really powerful.
Incredible.
And
there's been a few people that have been going to the pyramids and the tombs there and working with sound and frequency and taking measurements and seeing like incredible things happening,
shifts,
in these, within that little experiment that they're doing, but also how attuned those chambers are, and how the frequencies resonate and amplify, and you know, do like shifts in cellular activity and things like that in the body, and they also say, with like my experience with the crystal bowls, is that it's, if you have a sound healing, like to shower afterwards to cleanse the dross and
the dross, for sure,
and out of your hair and things like that, or jump in the ocean.
Because it really shifts some stuff. Which
comes back to what you're also sharing around like the toxicity and the heavy metals and things like that we don't want. It's an amazing way to get rid of support that, like when you have this density in your body of.
Actually, I went to one, I think it was maybe, I don't know whether it was August or something, but I went to one and afterwards I was like, oh, I feel a bit acidic in my stomach. So it's already unlocking stuff that just wants to get out. Like, it's like, get me out of here, you know, because it's like at such a high level, it'll, you know, release from your cells that toxicity, which is stress and, you know, bad thoughts and all that sort of stuff.
I've had some pretty crazy experiences through going to some sound healings, which have been crazy. Breath and sound.
Both of those.
Both are massive. Breaking through the barrier, like and it feels like a real quantum healing. Where, like you were saying, you know, and the other thing that it was coming up just then was that sometimes we feel like we have to go through processes and do this, and it has to be deep healing and all of that. And it's like I feel like we're passed through that timeline now. We're in a process where it's very simple. And you know, we're not getting too attached to the outcome. It's just like just going in and just allowing for whatever to happen. And allowing it to happen.
And sleep, allowing our bodies to really go into that rest phase, because the more, I guess that's the other thing I alluded to last time we were talking, is the distractions. So trying to remove yourself from distractions and stress in your life and drama and all of that, that's gonna take you out into a fight, flight or freeze response, or fawn, whichever one you fall to. But it's like trying to really tune into your own nervous system around, you know, what triggers might be there, and trying to pull back from that if you're trying to heal yourself, because that is the real key, is like getting into that real restful phase. And, you know, sound healing and breath work, yoga, those sort of things, slowing that nervous system down really help to heal. It's like, keep it simple. It's not, that's all I can say actually on that. Simple. Keep it simple. Well, that's what I keep getting.
That's what I think the grounding has to offer, is that self-regulation and that intuitive connection within yourself, but also with what you were also sharing before we came online with the circadian rhythm and our, the natural biorhythms that help to our body to self-regulate, go through the processes, and our light being be fully engaged.
It's amazing. Actually, I did some I guess a course on, and I've learned how to do the crystal bowls now, and the lady was saying, because that's the other part of it, is you get so much by playing them yourself. And because I've been singing in a band for a couple of years now, and so I'm going to start using my voice and my
surprise us. So.
Just drop that in. But but we it was really helpful for me to get my confidence back with my voice and tuning and things like that. So that's winding up this year, and then next year will be jumping into the bowls and things. But even just playing the bowls, the lady that taught us, she was like, you can sit there and play it for 10 minutes and then just lie back straight away, and then let your light body and energy body just sort of filter into your physical. And I was like, that's just beautiful. Like, so you're not just giving, but you're also receiving. So I think that's sort of where I think healing's going as well, more and more, is like, both participants, we're always, giving and receiving at the same time.
I have just a little I don't know, like a Buddha bowl, is it? And you've got your thing and it just sends off this resonant. And I've been playing it for my grandsons forever. And they now bring it to me, and they say, show me, and I'm like, and I do it for them, and then they want to try and do it. But it's, they feel it. Yeah. It's so beautiful. But I do love the crystal bowls. They're amazing too.
Yeah. But it's the same. Like, remember in the day when you just used to have a crystal glass and you used to lick your finger down to the top?
Yes.
And it
was,
and
it's so fun.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
And
maybe we were picking up on something else.
I'm going free. It is fun, and that's what I noticed, like learning them. I'm like, this is so much fun. Like, you get so much joy, and you're playing, and you're like, there's no rules, like this, and it's so good. Like, it's just one of those things that I'm really drawn to now. Is like, no rules. It's just you're meant to have fun and play, and enjoy the process. Like, some of it can be really hard, but it's time to sort of lighten that side of it.
Absolutely. Like,
especially when you're sharing about coming from all the shadow work.
And
I think
that's
this
heavy.
is the thing when you can take some of the suffering out of the shadow work and actually be standing in the dark and not be afraid of what that means, and also stand in the light and not be afraid of what that means, because we don't always like seeing ourselves in the mirror in the full light, do we? Like, we like those mirrors. You've got an amazing mirror that makes everyone look skinny. I love it.
I do. They're good, those ones. Those ones are great.
But it's either one or the other. There's things that we can still look at ourselves or feel in ourselves when we're standing in the dark, standing in the light, and find a point of criticism. And the dark has so much to offer.
It really does. It really does.
We're so hard on ourselves too. I think we don't let ourselves off the hook. We want to keep repaying for something. And it's so silly. It's like there's you're the only one that has the key to unlock yourself from that. Nobody else can. It's like it's time to actually be accepting of where you're at.
Exactly.
And embrace it all. And stand in the shadow and be okay with it, and let yourself off the hook. And absolutely.
And some days you just want to walk around the house with your pajamas on all day.
Absolutely.
And that's okay.
That's okay. Actually, this is a beautiful subject. I had this conversation this morning about, being okay with doing nothing. Like, part of the programming that we've been in is that this physical world of doing. And that we have to tick boxes. And, you have to be physically doing something to feel like you've completed something or felt like you've enough. And meditating or yoga or even listening to some beautiful music, just sitting and being is enough these days. The world that we're in, that is enough, and being responsible for, what you're in, being the observer of self more
Yes,
is doing the work.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that should be enough.
Definitely. Yeah. I think we judge ourselves, like you were saying, just the programming around, and we're stuck in this loop of like the tax man.
Yes.
And so it's like, yeah, but that's just a program, and it's okay to, sometimes be in bed until midday, like reading or whatever you're, called to do if you're feeling like you need the rest. Yeah, because it's a really fast pace. And I mean, society today, it's not normal to be so fast paced.
Yeah.
And it's just having that regulation between, what you need to do, like your must do's, but versus like, if it's not a yes, it's a no.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
back into that tuning in.
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh God, that's so interesting. Oh, we've already been over an hour. Is
Yeah.
there anything else you'd like to share?
Oh, look, I think probably just to drop into a little bit of with the going and connecting in with your DNA and frequency and things like that. I've noticed that it's a lot easier to connect in with your star lineage.
Yep.
So
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay, so this is like the Palladian, beautiful.
Yeah. So I guess in the last 6 months I've been out in nature a lot more, sort of seeing and observing things, and we've come, a few of us, like we tend to do these little activities and get out in nature, and have been observing so much, and it's like things are coming alive more.
Yep.
And so that more connection, more awareness. And so we've been, seeing or walking in through portals, seeing more ley lines, those sort of things. And also like just other beings that are there, like all the time, that, multidimensionally, they're always there. It's just whether you can tune into it or not. And so, I've been noticing that, out in nature, they will tend to pop up and just be there. And that's been pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what happens when you start to actually clear out the density of the human body, isn't it? And you create more space to be able to then allow those frequencies to match you and to come in and say, I'm here.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for you. I've been here all along.
Yeah. And there's some magical places around the planet, really, but in Australia, and where we are here, like there's some amazing places that really open up that energy to allow you to connect into that. Like Springbrook's amazing up there. Like there's a lot going on up there, and the people that live up there.
Yes.
Lots of stories. Like lots of stories about what's coming in and out of the portals up there. And also what's been clearing from up there on the land as well, of late, which I think is going to be happening more and more. So beautiful. I think something I've been tuning into a little bit is that there will be like shifts coming into the next few years around where people will be living. And I think probably and matching frequencies and frequency changes, but also like the land spirits being more active and being like, okay, well, you're not a match for this where you are. So they'll create scenarios or whatever for the people to move to where they're meant to be. So I think that's going to be happening a lot more. That's what I've been feeling into.
No, I get
that's
that.
exciting.
That's exciting.
It is.
So when you talk around, like for our listeners, like with, because then again, we're coming back to you as the psychic and the conduit and the intuitive, being that you are, Kate. When you're walking on the land and like basically what you've been experiencing by coming out of that time of suffering and self-sabotage, and it's like it's a beautiful, it just feels like this, I'm just having this vision of this like beautiful gossamer being with wings outstretched and just moving through trees. It's quite gorgeous.
It feels very light when you're out now. Like it's not as I don't feel as heavy as I ever used to be. That's the difference I've noticed.
Well, that's the work you've done. That's all that work you've been doing to unhook yourself from everything that's been anchoring you down to what's not right.
Taking
exactly.
you out, so that you're not here to help us all.
I know, absolutely. Which we're all helping each other.
Yes.
But
so when you're on the land, so basically, so you're doing that, you're working with the frequency, the sound bowls, all the things that you've been doing for your own learning, and answering that yes calling when you're walking on the land and out in the country. Like, it's a therapy, it's a healing for you, but it's also like, do you see it as part of you activating some of these areas that are out there and waiting to be?
Yes.
Yeah.
They actually say that nature interacts with us,
Yeah.
and that it only really comes alive more when we interact with it more.
Yeah.
So it's actually a symbiotic relationship, which I think is beautiful, because the more life force we bring in and we interact, but obviously in a conscious way, and then all of a sudden there's, trees speaking to you. You start to see, like, if you sit and observe long enough, you can see the distortions in the fields, and things start like, oh, it's a being.
Yeah.
That stuff is starting to be more real. But it's like, can you stay still enough and observant enough and not be in any expectation into what comes through?
Yeah.
And sometimes too, like, might be birds, like one day that you just constantly, they're communicating with you.
Yeah.
And so that is definitely a thing that we're moving into more and more. And the more interaction you have with nature, the more it speaks to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful. My son actually had an experience recently where he went for a run.
Yeah.
And it was out in the valley.
Yep.
And he was running and he was having a hard time, and said he was right down in it. And then all of a sudden he just heard the trees say hello, and he was like, oh my God.
Wow.
He realised that he was down in it and that he wasn't expanding himself. So as soon as he was like, hey, and they were like, we're here for you too, just, be with us. And he started to expand himself out. And he said then all the running just became light and easy, and he ran for longer, and he felt himself expand into nature, and the trees were speaking to him as well.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful when he
That's
said that to us.
amazing.
And he was like, I couldn't believe how I was just so closed off to it all.
Yeah.
And probably in his thoughts.
In his thoughts. It was
because often when we
hard,
go
he was
for a
gonna
run, we're
turn
trying
around.
to blow out the
Yes.
stuff that's in our minds.
But when he allowed himself to expand out
Yeah.
into it
Yeah.
and allow it in, he said everything completely shifted.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So
That's
I get
beautiful.
what you're saying when you say that.
Yeah, I'm getting tingles now. It is just, and that's what I want to do more and more next year is like bring people along and go for little nature journeys and just allow what comes up. Like sometimes it might be a healing journey. Somebody needs to talk through something. Often you find as you move, you're like, whoa, there's verbal diarrhea, and you're like, oh, so that's what's been on your mind.
Yeah.
So, the truth comes out.
When you're coming, we just had like verbal diarrhea from the minute you came to the door.
But it's true. No, but it's. I think that is like the beauty of it is like it's just all there, ready to like be let go, expressed, and not holding on to stuff so much.
Yeah.
And nature's a really good, I guess,
Space
conduit
holder.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yep.
We have trees at home that actually, when you say speak to us, that do that flutter thing. When you say hello to them, they start to do the shimmer.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly blown away, and it's like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
Love you. It's got this shimmer thing, and it's so amazing.
Oh yeah.
No wonder the grass keeps growing.
Oh, I know.
Yes!
I was thinking that when,
It's just
Kate was saying
alive.
that,
Oh.
yeah. It's funny, the house could be sitting there for ages with nobody in it.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, but and then we've been out
Life
there and
force.
everything's just growing out. And I can feel that it's our energy interacting with their energy,
Yeah.
which is just activating everything. And the grass is growing so quick, and the trees
Amazing.
and everything. Yeah,
Amazing.
the bees and
Yep.
yeah, incredible.
Yep. Oh, that's so beautiful.
So
Yeah,
hearing what
it's
you're
like a
saying.
friend of ours when they researched planting a garden, a vegetable garden, according to back in the Roman days, like with the aqueduct, like the channels and the swales and the things like that, and they did these big, huge wooden pillars as gateways and frames for things to grow on and things. And the vegetables that grow there, like they had cabbages
Massive.
that were sizes of, and they were just ginormous, weren't they? They were huge vegetables that grew more than vegetables normally grow. Like they were just crazy
on steroids,
Yeah.
basically.
And then, it was the intention, the energy, the frequency. There was a lot of factors involved in there.
Yes.
So I just
That's okay.
Yeah, you
We
girls
might
keep
we
talking.
might even
We're going to come back because there's something I want to talk around with the copper.
The
Keep going, you girls keep going.
Yes, so with you right now, Kate, where are you at in your work wise, and as far as I mean, everything you've been talking about is so beautiful. But are you honing it into one area? Is it the sound healing and all of that, or?
I believe it will be, but it's also that nature side
Yes.
of things. And so I have done shamanic studies in the past, and I would really love to bring that work in
Yeah.
with that, the hiking and, you know, sitting in nature,
Yes.
you know, potentially connecting with spirit animals, spirit guides.
Yes.
And because of that natural conduit being a lot easier for people,
Yeah.
you know, to clear the clutter and be able to connect in.
This
And
is so beautiful because there's a few people that I feel like that I know personally that have gone into this area
yeah.
around, like wild adventures or
Yeah, wilderness education
Yes.
and yeah.
which is that what we've been talking about,
Yep.
the whole grounding back into nature,
Mhm.
connecting with the earth. Because I feel like the two, you know, it just seems so obvious now when we sit here and we talk about it. That they just so work beautifully together, you know, and it's that giving, receiving, that exchange
Yep.
where we both can help each other
Yes.
through it. And it's just so natural
Yeah.
for us to do that.
Yeah.
And that goes right back, you know, to God knows
Yeah.
lineage.
Ancient
Yes.
times.
Yes.
And that's the thing where I'm going with that is, you know, like the whole sitting around a campfire and doing that, you know, it's like a ritual. Like,
Yeah.
it's an ancient ritual that
Absolutely.
we all used to do.
And we
That
naturally love that.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, and you sit around and you're like, it's alchemy in its own way.
Yeah.
You know, you're sitting in storytelling.
Yep.
And, you know, I guess ancient times there was like a whole families there, and it was
Yeah.
like, you know, kids learning from
stories
elders,
and-
elders
yeah.
getting their validation, and like I've been through all these experiences, I need to pass on the knowledge to somebody.
Yes.
And that's a whole dynamic
Yeah.
in itself.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, you know, not going to put the crystal ball thing happening, but I believe that's where we're going
Well,
with
yeah.
this more and more. It's like
Yeah.
that community feel. Like Aquarius is about community.
Yeah.
Pluto moving into Aquarius. So it's like getting back to that ground roots, you know, like kinship, like-mindedness, purpose, working on like, you know, similar goals.
Yeah.
And not being so like I'm in my own lane, I'm doing my own thing. And I think like wealth will be spread a lot more too.
Yeah.
Like whereas there's like this, you know, this is mine, that's yours,
Yes.
that sort of thing. I think there'll be a lot more, you know, sharing of wealth.
Yeah.
Yep.
That sounds
I
very
think
nice.
that I think the staying in your own lane is a part of the transition period for people to come out of the noise
Yeah.
and to gather that internal relationship and replenish.
Mm-hmm.
But as you say, the calling to come then back out into community is
Mm.
you know then that next phase or the phase that we're all
Yeah.
you know going into walking into.
Like the hero's journey, you know, you
Yes.
like the fool, like you're like, yeah, cool, I'm going on a new adventure, and then all this like little challenges along the way, and then the hermit comes in, like, you know, going through the tarot now, but
Yeah.
your hermit phase where you actually need to go and do soul searching
yeah.
because you're like, all this stuff happened to me, why, you
Yes.
know?
Yes.
And then you go, oh, and then you get the gold.
Yep.
Then you go back out into the world.
Yep.
And you're like alchemizing it because you're
Yeah.
sharing the story that you've learnt along the way, and then it
Yes.
starts again.
Yes.
So it's constant circular. But
Yeah.
I just, I think the last 6 to 12 months has been, you know, everyone you talk to is like going through something, something big,
Yeah.
and it's a lot. Like, and yet because we're all going through our own individually stuff, it's been really hard to share the load.
Yes.
So I think we're moving out of that
Yeah.
now. That there's going to be a lot more, we'll problem solve as a group
Yes.
versus problem solve as individuals.
Yeah. I agree because there's so
Yes.
much. There's so much reflection. There's so much of this mirror imaging thing where if you're really open and you're really going for it, you sit with someone and you have the same shit.
Yes.
It's like it
Yes.
just may look a little different.
Yes.
But if you can be vulnerable and open enough to share where you're really at,
Yeah.
then that exchange is coming naturally in where you actually help somebody else. They can say whatever they're going through, which then helps you.
Yes.
And then it alchemizes, and it's like
Yep.
you're actually there for one another and supporting one another in a really natural way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I feel like my work's going to, is like a lot more group work.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And there's no
and-
gurus in that either. This is
No.
what I'm getting to. There's
Yeah.
no gurus
No.
in that, and there's no one that's better off or more powerful or knows more. Nobody knows more than
No.
you know
No.
about yourself.
No.
You know, you have all the answers.
Yes.
It's just about being brave enough to start actually speaking into that authenticity.
Yeah.
To the beginning. you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. What's your authentic truth in this moment?
Moment.
Can you own it? Can
Yeah.
you speak to it? And
Yes.
can you, you know, look for inspiration in yourself and others?
Absolutely.
It's not just about externalizing everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And looking at and being the observer too.
Yeah.
This is what I'm learning too. And for me, it's about finding the right tone. I'm learning my tone, you know.
Oh, yes. Which again is frequency.
Frequency,
Yeah.
in how I express my truth. 'Cause
Yes.
you know, it's also about being responsible for the people that are in the space.
Yes.
While I'm sharing, even though it's my truth,
Yeah.
it's what's my tone like, and
Yes.
am I expressing it, and being responsible for all in my space. So you know, it's an
It's
interesting
big.
thing, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm learning
Yep.
about myself right now. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, just that you know, to reiterate the times that I've been out in nature, particularly these last 6 months, and just doing the journeys, and actually one of the times we used the Life FX and dropped the things in there, and then we were like walking out, and then all of a sudden, you know, stuff coming up, like what we need to release, like you know, experiences, etc. It was interesting, just that little, you know, addition. So
because the Life FX is remineralizing, purifying water.
Yeah.
It's energizing, all those things. There's a lot of
good stuff.
stuff that supports what it does.
Yeah.
So did you say you were putting it in
the water before we went?
Yes.
And so drinking it, like, you know, probably 20 minutes before we go out and walking.
Yeah.
And then you're walking it through and you're like, oh, we can feel it activating some things inside. Yeah, definitely. And unlocking things, and just you start to go, okay, we'll probably need to, because then you start talking and it's like, what's that you're releasing, or what's coming to mind as you're walking through. And the other thing I love about nature is you can use it to help heal yourself and release things with permission, of course. But, you know, water's a great one. So like I liked some of the places where it's got running water, and so you can sort of stand by the water and go, oh, I'd really like to release this heaviness and this, you know, emotional, etc., or whatever it is that comes to mind. And I just ask the water to help purify and cleanse and release this toxicity, and then you just like let it go. And you can direct your hands down into the water, put your hands in the water, and you do feel a lightness.
Yeah.
Like, so it can help really move things as well, because it's like alive.
Absolutely.
And, you know, they do say that a lot with water. It really is a helpful tool for releasing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, as you said, the point that you made around and asking for the help, and,
Yes.
and giving respect to the water
Yes.
as a being
Yes. Alive.
and and interactive with yourself in that space.
Yeah.
And that's quite a gorgeous awareness to have around that space too, and having more engagement in that.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a great movie, not about water but more about grounding, which is called Grounding, on YouTube.
Yep.
That's all about even just walking around barefoot
Yes.
on the earth, and laying on the earth, and
yes,
you know, doing it. They actually did a study. That's what the movie's about. It's really interesting.
Wow.
If anyone wants to check that one out.
Yeah.
Did you have another question you wanted
Yes,
to
because just on the grounding, one of the things they talk around there is how wearing shoes, particularly synthetic shoes and things like that. It creates like a barrier to the electromagnetic energy, the connection, the resonance we have with the earth. So it does. It's a disruptor for our own electromagnetic field. So if we walk more in bare feet, we are self-regulating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so true.
Yeah. So coming back to the copper, which I haven't wanted to say.
I know. It's sitting up there very happily.
I walked with it. It hasn't come off.
Yeah.
So I can feel as the instant I put it on, I felt calmness, and like that noise, you know, that experience you had when you felt like the mother, just the noise, and you're going, how do you put up with all that noise? And she goes, it's all your thoughts. It felt like just a little bit of a calmness around that. And just that connection into myself. Like, it doesn't feel heavy or anything. I even forget that it's on.
Nice.
But it just feels like a little bit of it's like having a hug, but also like
like a shield or something, is it?
Yeah, but just more like say if water was gently just coming over you
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Caressing you.
Yeah, so it's like the energy of it just actually infusing.
Infusing.
Yeah. So anything distorted, from what I'm aware of, is that it removes distortions. So things like where you feel, or you've been holding on to old emotions, or like old thoughts, negative thoughts, any like patterns, things like that. It helps to like basically bring chaos to order. So yeah, they're amazing tools. Like, you know, just stumbling across them, and you know, they were doing demonstrations, I was just like, oh, I've got to get some. These are powerful.
You can feel it.
Yeah. So I'm happy to do we'll do it after the recording with the it's called a feedback loop. There's also AccuVoils, they're called. So they basically draw out the yucky stuff and then transmute it and put the light back into the field. So
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, we will put all of that information.
So just with just again another distraction. But not really. It's relevant. So my father, in his last few years, he was wearing copper bracelets.
And
he would often get like the oxidation around his wrist because
I remember those too.
So he had so much he had a lot of toxicity that was coming out, so there was a lot of cleansing all the time going all the time, but he wouldn't take them off because he felt safe wearing them.
Interesting.
And then another friend recently, when she was in New York, she actually bought one off a lady in the street, who she heard talking to a young couple around these beautiful little bracelets with engraving on it. They're copper. And she was experiencing a lot of anxiety at the time because she was out of her natural environment and things. And she bought one based on what this lady was sharing around. And she said the instant she put it on, she started to feel calm.
Oh, wow.
And she hasn't taken it off.
No.
That's so
months
cool.
later. Yeah, it was very... and she's not a... I'll say not a...
Yeah.
She's, she's open to things, but she's not living in the kind of space of these things. You know. It would be woo-woo to her too. But she's really
had the
it's
feeling.
very factual for her. It's very
Which
real.
isn't that beautiful? Just when we talk about the collective consciousness waking up and how we're all connected, even that lady making those and then giving it to your friend who's not a big believer, but it actually worked, which is opening her up.
Yes.
It's like it's happening everywhere. It's so beautiful.
Subtle, but it's
subtle,
but it's incremental.
And it all matters.
It does.
It all matters.
We all matter.
Yeah.
Every little thing and every
Absolutely.
choice we make. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Beautiful,
a nice
Kate.
way to round that off.
We're going to do it. We'll do a little video of you doing the feedback loop with Joe.
Yes,
so that the listeners
for sure.
Can,
And see the demonstration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds beautiful.
Fabulous.
Thank you, Kate.
Excited
Thank you.
for where you're
Thank you for
going with
having
all of
me.
this and what you're
Yeah.
going to be sharing with people going forward as well.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your space and
Yay.
loved it today.
Spirit, she comes in my dreams.
Thank you for listening to our Girl Awakening podcast. We are also on YouTube as Girl Awakening. We'd love to see you there with comments on how our guests resonated with you or your own awakening. Please share the love with a like and subscribe while you're there. A blissful thank you to Ksenia Luki, the amazing artist behind our theme song. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.